All right, beginning the discussion. Let's go for it. All right, so I think on this one can go off topic quite easily. It can be very complex. So let's try and focus on a bit on free and stick to the topic because it can be very easy to spend a few hours discussing this one. Okay, Mick, would you like to comment while your image is up on screen? Your mic is muted, I think.
No, I'm audio. Apologies, I only got in late. My free will got me late to the. I got lost in a million alternatives for Mr. Musk's. I was reading all that before I got to you, so I didn't even hear the whole thing.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever met anybody that doesn't believe in free will? I don't think I have.
No, I don't think so.
So I think it's a bit. I mean, but the logic behind the whole presentation is great. It makes one think about it. But I mean, even if you take the very beginning where they have this sort of a court case as a thing where the defense reckons because of the beginning of the universe, this guy couldn't avoid committing his crime. But that's very easily refutable. I mean, he says, oh, the judge is confused, but I don't think any judge would be confused by an argument like that. They would say, oh, it's very easy to point to another person in exactly the same circumstances who chose not to commit a crime. So I think it's relatively, so it doesn't have to be so complicated. I think it's relatively simple. What do you think?
Yeah. Okay. Hi, Derek.
Hi, Len.
I don't want to talk about the free will bit, but I was wondering about the weather and the butterfly effect, because I often wonder when I see all these wind farms. Now, at that point in time, that wind farm is taking an enormous amount of energy out of the system. I know it's getting converted into other forms of energy, but I always wonder if there's an effect, if it affects the weather ultimately.
I think it definitely has to affect the weather, but I think that although it's taking what to us is an enormous amount of energy and giving us an enormous amount of energy, it's actually really only a tiny fraction of the total energy in that system. So from that point of view, yes, it must have an effect, but I wonder whether it's even. It has to be measurable, sure. Maybe it's measurable, but I don't think it's a great effect in total. I mean, for example, a simple thing like Koeberg nuclear power station, which uses seawater for cooling. The seawater around it, I don't know, it must in the vicinity of the Koeberg must be about a degree or two warmer than it would otherwise be. You know, does that have an effect on currents and tides and weather and so on? I don't know whether it's measurable.
Maybe if I can comment. Actually, Elaine's point is, I thought, quite interesting because, if you're going to say that a butterfly flapping on one side of the world is going to affect the weather patterns on the opposite side, then one of these wind turbines is, a very large butterfly. So perhaps it does have an impact. I don't know. It's an interesting point.
Yeah, it is interesting. So I mean, the butterfly thing is what what that guy found was that a very tiny thing which wasn't even in the decimals was on his weather prediction program affected what the outcome was. But I mean, you would have wild swings in the predictions. Many days in advance, but within a day or two, it's fairly accurate. So I don't know.
I think that's the reason why we have butterflies here in South Africa. It's to counteract the effects.
Yeah. So the net effect of everything, is what you get. So I don't know. I think global warming, what factors are important in determining uh, uncomfortable weather or dangerous weather or unusual weather or whatever, weather causing major problems for humankind. I think global warming is a major factor more than anything else. So yeah, chaos. That's what chaos theory seems to say, that you won't be able to predict exactly, but you will can still run within broad trends, without jumping out of the range too far. It will still be warmer in summer than in winter.
Yeah, just a thought on chaos theory predicting the future. I just wonder what chaos theory says about interpreting the past. Because if you look back, how can you be sure that you can predict what happened in the past? If don't the laws of chaos theory also affect past measurements?
Yeah, that's probably a good point. I don't know how to answer that. I can't think of a good answer to that.
I know
That makes it a very good point.
I know we say that we've got records of past events, but how can we be sure really about the beginning of the universe if you wind the clock back using the ideas in chaos theory? You could be wildly off in your predictions, couldn't you?
Yeah, in fact, that the James Webb is, by adding more information, is showing us a lot of rifts with the theory. The problem is, about it's such a complex problem to try and solve. How did the universe start, and what were all the procedures and so on. You're never going to know everything. It's just too much. It's just too complex. So your theory is never going to be exactly correct.
Well,
Which to me is just another thing which actually shows that free will is a real thing.
I was going to say anything that is based on cause and effect, it can never really have a beginning, can it? Because if you wind the clock back to the Big Bang, you're going to say what caused the Big Bang. And I would argue as well, even with quantum mechanics, that the same sort of thing applies, because at the Big Bang, presumably time began. So what caused the beginning of time? People say it's quantum fluctuations, but the word fluctuation is a time-related concept. So how can you have fluctuations before time existed? So, I don't know.
Yes, the logic gets a bit convoluted sometimes, even in his logic where he was trying to cover, in quantum mechanics, where he was sort of saying at one stage, what I heard anyway, was that because it's indeterministic, it actually proves free will. But I don't know, it was sort of going in circles almost, the logic, when he was talking about quantum mechanics.
Yeah, but Derek, if I may come in here, I found the whole thing very interesting, and I think there's always a but or an or in everything that was said today,
Yes.
which there's always something more to find, and I find that terribly interesting. But if I may go off topic for a moment, Derek, may I?
You may.
Okay.
Very easy with the subject, I think.
Elon Musk's latest pronouncement that he wishes to launch 1 million satellites into low Earth orbit must give all astronomers a sense of worry and frustration, I guess. And my question is, does that mean, Derek, that Earth-based astronomy is going to take second place to those instruments that are outside the Earth's atmosphere, i.e. James Webb, etc., all of those observation devices that are out there today? What do you think about that, Derek?
I think that Elon Musk better think very carefully about what the common status, I think it's called the Kessler syndrome or something, which is standing at the estimate is standing at 2.8 days or something at the moment, which means that if something goes off course up in space and crashes into something else, the chain reaction will result in everything crashing into everything else within 2.8 days, and everything coming to almost total destruction in space.
Yeah.
So
Hey.
there is a very, very real Pierre, can you perhaps enlighten us more on that? Do you know anything about that, Pierre? Are you still with us?
The 2.8 days sounds very short because it will depend on the relative altitudes of the various objects. What Elon Musk is proposing is obviously essentially at the same altitude above Earth, and then for that it can work. But if I can go back on topic just for a moment, I think it was a very interesting talk. I think a few simplifying comments. I agree with you that we do have a free will, and we decide what to do based on the information that we have at our disposal when we make a decision. But we must also recognize that quantum mechanics is probabilistic in nature, and that links up with chaos theory. So I think it depends on the system that you are considering. It brings us back to the size of the butterfly, whether the perturbation that a certain action has on the system is large enough to influence it. That is when it becomes impossible to predict the future. But for the most part, I think it is deterministic and determined by the laws of physics. That's a very simplified view.
Yeah, I think we use naturally the laws of physics to try and make predictions about the future for ourselves, and that actually determines our decision-making process often. And there is obviously a lot of probabilistic sort of things in our in our decision making. So yeah, you can, his example of the restaurant where people are deciding on whether you're going to have. I mean, how often have you been? In my experience, anyway, you go out for a pizza. So everybody, and then you go and look at the menu and you run through all the choices that you've got there, 32 different pizzas that they can make you. And then in the end, you choose the same one that you've had for the last 20 years because you like that one. So, and then maybe one day you choose to have a different one. And then how the chef makes that pizza, if the chef makes a different pizza and does a fantastic job of it with his artistic cooking ability, that persuades you to have that one more often in the future, or he messes it up. And so you just go back to your old one. So I think there's a randomness in our decision making, which, actually assists free will. So I don't know if anybody else has had the same experience of going through the menu, spending 10 minutes or 15 minutes going through the menu, and then you choose the same thing you always have anyway.
Always do that.
True. Derek, can I just ask another question? Is there any evidence or any information or any thoughts about at the time of the Big Bang, whether quantum mechanics or quantum physics or Newtonian physics dominated?
Unquestionably, general relativity, because that was a very, very high energy environment. And Newtonian mechanics only works at fairly low energies and predictable. So that was definitely quantum mechanics at its worst.
Interesting. Thanks, Pierre.
Thanks, Pierre. Very concise answer. All right. Who else have we got?
I've got to leave. Thanks, Derek. That was a very, very interesting talk and food
All right.
for thought.
I've had frantic phone calls from my supper maker here, which I declined. So I'm going to be in trouble. Has anybody else got any comments that they really would like to share before we log off?
Just one small comment, Derek.
Yeah.
We all have free will, but there are always circumstances where somebody forces you to do something which you wouldn't want to do otherwise. Just a thought.
Yeah, sure. But still, even under difficult circumstances, I still believe that you still have the choice of taking a difficult decision one way or the other.
But that's not free will.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's forced will.
If we look at your menu selection conundrum,
Yes.
I think that that is a question of risk management. You have to make some kind of an assessment of probabilities as to whether what you're going to get will be better or worse than what you would have if you chose your long-term favorite. Now we're looking at unknowns and probabilities, and half the time, at least, you're going to say, well, I'm going to stick with this because at least I know what I'm getting. So you're limiting your probability of disappointment or delight, for that matter. So
Yeah, I suppose
your
our
choice
decision
is
making
based on previous experiences.
So our decision making is sort of an optimization process, what you're saying. You want to optimize the enjoyment you're going to get for your money that you spend.
It's risk management. Yeah.
Yeah. Good comment there, Chris. All right.
Well, sorry, if I may comment, I think you should make a quick decision about your dinner-making phone call as to what results you would like for your own safety and health. So anyhow, but I've got lots of other questions, but it'll keep us up all up at night. Not strange to an astronomer, but yeah, no, Elon Musk is cutting off his nose to spite everyone's face. Yeah, I don't know if he knows what he's thinking that far ahead. So I'm pretty scared of that.
Yeah.
Another comment off the subject is reading about irradiating nuclear power stations at an amazing cost for an amazing amount of time. And the butterfly effect of the wind generators. Eventually, I think most of the power that we harvest it results in heat, like your kettle and your iron and your stove, your smelters, even electronics, they'll get pretty warm. So they're changing all these forms of energy into heat. So, yeah, no, things are hotting up. So
yeah, talking about heat and energy generation, apparently the Chinese have launched a commercial carbon dioxide, a liquid carbon dioxide under pressure cooled system, which is highly efficient, several orders of magnitude, about 20 times more efficient at converting the heat energy into electricity. It was a very interesting video on YouTube on that. So yeah, there's a lot of new things coming out all the time, which totally change our way of living.
Comment, if I may.
Go ahead.
I find it interesting that the more advanced you go into, for instance, into mathematics, the more abstract it can become. So at our level, we're used to all the basics, the laws that you learn and how to apply them. But advanced mathematics can become very abstract and starts touching on different disciplines. And this is my point, that the more knowledgeable you become of a discipline, the more you want to integrate with other disciplines. And it becomes very interdisciplinary. Just a weird application. Did anyone notice what Aug Slottergraf's career is in the invitation you sent? He's a psychohistorian. That sounds like a contrast, but that's taking different sciences and blending them. And gosh, it's a career. And using mathematical modeling, which mathematical modeling, if you don't have too many variables, will work in solving many, many things and predicting them and analyzing past decisions. So anyhow, that was interesting for me today.
Yeah, I think that is his email address or something. I once asked him about that and I didn't really get a straight answer. So I don't actually know the answer. So yeah, maybe I'll try and
It's not
corner him on that one
pseudo-history.
again one day. Sorry?
It's
No,
not pseudo history, it's actually psycho history.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that's his actual email address, I think.
Yes, it's based on some science fiction of days gone by. I can't remember what it was exactly, but
Yeah.
it was probably Asimov or someone like that who came up with
Okay.
it. Yeah.
What
All
was
right,
it
credible.
from?
Thank you.
Psychohistorian.
All right, thanks
Yes, yeah.
everybody. As there's no more comments, I better go and get out of trouble.
Good luck.
Thanks very
There's
much
just
for
a
your
brief
attention.
comment.
If there anybody thinks of interesting comments that you would still like to raise, no harm in emailing it or whatever. I'm also going to look into this thing which of the 2.8 days before disaster in space. I did see something on YouTube about that, and I think it was by Sabine Ossenfelder, so relatively reliable. So I'll look for that because that was very interesting and quite frightening. So maybe we can send some info out on about that one. All right. Any last minute comments before we go?
Yeah, thank you. I was listening to Oris here, and they were
Yes.
talking about that on Sunday night on 7:30.
Okay.
And then another comment is still, if you use your free will, you're still subject to laws, so which doesn't make it free will after that. So after your decision. Thanks very much. Thank you. Lovely.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks everybody
Thanks,
for your
Jerry.
attendance.
That was lovely.
Very good
you,
attendance for the
Eric
first
and
meeting
Al.
of the year. Thanks very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cheers all.
Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your
Cheers,
evening.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.